Well, thank you very much, and it really is an honor to be here. And I want to welcome those of you from out of town and salute the great work of Responsible Investor. Give them a big round of applause. Now that I'm controller, I know this. You're the only news and events service that covers the issue of responsible investment and sustainable finance for institutional investors around the world. You report it all and provide crucial information for those of us focused on municipal and global concerns. And I really can't think of a better place to hold this meeting because the issues you're exploring today are really a top priority for New York City. And I tell all my friends that this is the record, this is what you have to read when you wake up in the morning, okay? So I want to thank you for the introduction, and as many of you know, I'm the investment advisor and trustee of 5 public pension funds with more than $160 billion in assets. And for us, long-term sustainable capitalism isn't a nice add-on, it's actually an imperative. And that's because more than 700,000 city workers and retirees rely on our city pension funds for their retirement security. They include young workers hired today who will retire in 30 years and live 40 years beyond that. Our investment time horizon isn't measured year to year, it's measured literally in generations. To meet these challenges, we need strong checks and balances and the highest level of accountability, not just in government, but in the companies in which we invest. We saw the importance of this last month when Americans elected 69 new representatives and U.S. senators. And despite deep divisions, our democracy leaves the door open and a place on the ballot to challengers of diverse backgrounds. Fairness and access are hallmarks of our democratic process and a key to our vitality as a nation. But the same cannot be said for most U.S. companies when it comes to the election of corporate directors. In most cases, the result is a foregone conclusion. The process favors one slate of candidates who are handpicked by board members themselves. And while other candidates can challenge them, that almost never happens. Boss Tweed never had it so good. Now, the sad fact is that corporate elections are really more like coronations. In recent years, we've seen entrenched, conflicted directors fail to prevent accounting fraud at Enron and WorldCom. They failed to rein in the excessive short-term risk-taking that led to the financial crisis. Indeed, the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission said lax regulation and a breakdown in corporate governance contributed to the collapse in 2008. But a lack of expertise among those who sit on corporate boards and make decisions is an equally great concern. And I just want to give you one example. As many of you know, our funds have a long history of active ownership. We voice concerns about corporate behavior on environmental, social, and governance issues. In May, we partnered with CalPERS to oppose the election of 4 Duke Energy directors based on oversight failures in connection with a major oil spill. That spill prompted federal and state regulators to review potential violations of the Clean Water Act. It led federal prosecutors to probe the relationship between the company and state environmental regulators. Not one of these 4 directors had any expertise in coal, in environmental management and regulation, but yet they all sat on the board committee overseeing health, safety, and environmental compliance. Think about that for a second. Directors with no experience sitting on these boards in the midst of a major environmental disaster. Now, Duke Energy is not unique. Similar problems surface in companies across the market. And this isn't just a matter of good governance. There is a huge potential cost here. A report by the CFA Institute, the largest association of investment professionals, found that bringing more democracy to the boardroom could increase U.S. market capitalization up to $140 billion. For all these reasons, my office launched the Boardroom Accountability Project last month. It is potentially the most transformative campaign ever begun in New York City's Comptroller's Office history. We've launched a national initiative to give share owners the right to nominate directors using the corporate ballot, known as proxy access, and we're doing this collaboration with major U.S. and global investors. The goal is to enact this on a company-by-company basis across the entire U.S. market. We can't wait any longer for the SEC to reissue its universal proxy ballot rule. As a first step, New York City filed proxy access proposals at 75 U.S. companies. We focused on 3 criteria. First, we're targeting companies with excessive CEO pay, such as Chipotle, which paid its 2 CEOs $58 million in 2013. Good work if you can get it. Excessive pay wastes shareholder money and drives income inequality. It's a sign of a board that puts the interests of management ahead of its share owners. And second, we focused on boards with little or no gender or racial diversity. I'm talking about companies like Urban Outfitters, where the only female director is the CEO's wife. Now think about this. Today, women hold less than 20% of the seats on corporate boards. These boards have become male, pale, you know this, right? And stale. But I'm here to tell you, I may be male, but I'm not stale. And that's why we also targeted more than 30 of our most carbon-intensive energy companies, ranging from Arch Coal to ExxonMobil. Climate change poses major risks and opportunities across our portfolio. But those risks are most acute for companies that extract or burn carbon. Changing this will require a big shift in business strategy and capital allocation, so these firms have got to start now. We need to ensure that CEOs make investments in strategic choices today, even if the payoff is so far down the road. By giving shareholders a meaningful voice in director elections now, we can hopefully head off the next corporate crisis. And the message we're sending is simple. The clock is ticking. Either you fix the problem or share owners will fix it ourselves. So this will be a major battle, and we're well positioned to wage this from New York, but we need allies across the country. For our new initiative, we're working closely with New York State, CalPERS, and other state and municipal pension funds, many treasurers and controllers. But we also have global support, including the Norwegian Government Pension Fund, which has $870 billion in assets. Now, we're grateful for their support, but I'm also asking for your support as well. We can spearhead a transformation in corporate governance. It's long overdue reform that's good for share owners, the economy, and the planet. Now, in closing, I want to just talk about a quote from Elissa Burns. She's the first chairperson and CEO of Xerox and the first African-American woman to lead a Fortune 500 company. She once said, "I'm less concerned about whether being a good corporate citizen burnishes a company's reputation. I believe it's a responsibility, and there is no negotiating on our responsibilities." The same can be said of investors. A responsible investor is an active owner, and there is no negotiating on active ownership. If we can begin to elect directors in a fair, open election, where we use our democracy to ensure that these corporations will provide the kind of representation and expertise we need to grow our pension funds and to grow companies, then this is a corporate fight worth fighting for. Today, the strategy has been doing this work in silos and piecemeal, and we're not moving the needle enough. So if we're really going to engage, we have to do it throughout the market. We have to do it company by company. We have to get the SEC's attention, but it's going to take all of us working together to change the outcome in this country. If we can do it in elections, no matter how contentious in the United States and abroad, surely we can create a corporate model where share owners actually have the ability to engage, to get elected, and that you're never going to see a ballot again which says vote for candidate A and there's no candidate B or C. That's not democracy. That's not good corporate ownership, and it's not good for our democracy and the way we deal with the critical issues of CEO pay, corporate responsibility, diversity in this country and beyond. And that's why I wanted to be here today to talk to you, all of you, about this, because we have a lot of work to do. Thank you very, very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.